Hi, I'm Kevin from Hutson Engineering Services, and today I'm going to talk you through some of the details around this project that you can see here, which is a Aston Martin DB2 engine. The owner of this car has owned the vehicle for a number of years and is currently undergoing a complete restoration to an extremely high standard. When the car's built, the car will be taking part in the very prestigious Millier, which, as we know, is the most beautiful race in the world. And you, some of the more observant of you might note that the colour of the cylinder block is slightly different to what you would usually see. The original colour of David Brown Hunting Pink, as it's known, and there's a story why it's called that, is a little bit redder, sort of post-box red, shall we say. The client that owns this vehicle has owned, as I've stated, for a number of years, and this is very close to the colour that the engine has been while it's been in his ownership, and he wanted to maintain that. So we had a good number of discussions, and the client supplied the paint, and I think it looks fabulous. It looks really nice, and it looks very period. It's a very nice colour, and it sets the engine off well. We haven't polished cam covers or things like that. These have been vapor blasted to get this sort of matte finish, and the finish of the engine is been done to a very high standard. Everything's been plated or replaced as required. So the engineering that's gone into the engine, the machining, the balancing, and all the components form what we call a fast road engine. So the Hutson Engineering Services fast road engine for the DB2 has a number of internal components which are changed and modified, and there's a number of enhancements that go into the fast road engine which sets it apart from a standard engine rebuild or a full race engine rebuild. And we'll talk about what each of those improvements are, what the difference in parts are over the standard a little bit later on in the video. So very close to completion now. We're just fitting the distributor, and you'll notice that there's no inlet manifolds or carburetors on there, and the story behind that is the owner of the car is very capable mechanically, and having owned the car for a number of years and preparing the car for such a prestigious event, he really wanted to be a part of the engine build. And after some discussions, we decided, and he was very happy to overhaul the carburetors, and he wants to fit them, and I'll go along and we'll help set the car up and we'll run it and make sure everything's doing as it should. And really excited to do that, and very happy to do that as well, because we do work very closely with our clients, and it becomes a very enjoyable process throughout the course of the restoration. So, what is the difference between a standard comprehensive rebuild, a fast road rebuild such as this, and a full race engine? So talking just about the DB2 series of cars, DB2, DB24, DB24 Mark III, we'll just highlight the options available for them, rather than going into options of other Aston Martins, which have ultimately enormous ranges of capacity upgrades and camshaft upgrades and so on and so forth. Any remarks made about the fast road in this instance is specifically for the DB2 range. So you can get a reassembly or a comprehensive rebuild. A comprehensive rebuild at Hutson Engineering, we always remachine the cylinder block, that's line board, the liner seats are machined, the deck face is machined, new cylinder liners. We always opt for forged pistons normally, There is instances where the client would like to use original cast pistons, which for a slow running engine that's been used in a Lagonda to tootle about, the cast pistons are really nice because they're really quiet and it's just a lovely sounding. They sound like a sewing machine just ticking away there extremely quietly. So the comprehensive rebuild does involve crankshaft balancing, the pistons and liners, as we said, and we open up the oilways as a matter of standard. That increases the durability and longevity of the engine, and these new bearings, main bearings, big end bearings, chains go all the way through, new valve seats, new valves, new cam followers. For the fast road rebuilds, we move things on just a little bit further. So what we're trying to achieve here is an engine that will be a little bit punchier and will be durable at higher RPM for a sustained length of time. We put in to the engine some factors that will help the potential issues caused by vibration and cyclic twist of the crankshaft and things like that. So, with regards to the bottom end and the block, they're built relatively the same. We use solid 4-bolt crankshaft cheeses which are machined to suit the line bore of the block. That's all done using very close, tight tolerances to make sure everything is just about right. The cranks and the main bearings are also blueprinted and sizes recorded and optimized, which is critical. We also changed the connecting rods. We put some H-beam connecting rods in. The original rods are okay, but if we're uprating the engine, the new forged rods just add that small proportion of durability. And remember, the conrods are getting on for a number of years old now, so it's just taking that small risk factor out of a potential failure. The original crankshaft we can reuse for the fast road engine. They're a good, well-designed crankshaft, that's okay. But what we do is we have a torsional vibration damper which we fit to the front. So the TV damper is with a straight 6 inline engine. At certain RPMs, the crankshaft start to flex and twist through the natural torsional frequency. And it's amazing to see on the dyno. What you can do is you put a timing light that you would use for setting the ignition and a line on a solid part of the pulley and load the engine up on the dyno, and you'll actually see this line moving, and that's the crankshaft twisting. So that force of the crankshaft twist is energy, and that needs to be dissipated in some way. Some engines have for DB6, DB5 for example, have a rubber damper on the front, and that cyclic twist and the energy from that cyclic twist goes into the TV damper and then it's dissipated through the rubber. What we have here is a damper that's been designed and tuned specifically for this DB2 engine, and in the body of the damper there's a series of pockets, and in those series of pockets is a series of weights, and those series of weights have been tuned specifically for this engine, and they move should there be twist on the crankshaft, and when that occurs these weights move and it's dissipated that way, which is very clever, and it works fabulously. There are also fluid dampers, fluid dampers being the brand name, so it's Fluid Amper. That has like a gel inside, so that dissipates essentially what's the heat, the energy from the crankshaft oscillation that way. What we found in the past is fitting the TV dampers to the front of the engine can cause a few fitting issues. So we've seen them before where they're quite tight up against the front timing cover, where a large proportion of the front timing cover has to be machined out, which makes it very, very thin. I've seen them bust through as well on occasion and glued up on the back, which isn't great. So, and also dampers that sit a little bit further out. They're ultimately seen on the the race engines with much higher RPM, which I'll talk about shortly. And to fit those, you have to make some modifications to the suspension tube that runs in the centre, it runs through the front of the car. With this damper, it more or less just bolts straight on. It's a standard fitment. On this engine, I've had to shave just a small amount of the base of the timing cover, just some clearance issues, but fitted nicely, and it runs the standard pulley as well. So that's a brilliant safety factor built in for the potential sustained higher RPM, so it won't have any negative effects. For lubrication, also for the standard engine, we can reuse the original oil pump with the modified oil ways, where we open the oil ways up for a larger capacity to increase the oil flow to the bearings and the rest of the engine as a whole. So that's been carried out on this engine, but also we fitted a high output oil pump which comes with a new shaft, and it's all very nice. So the crankshaft and the rest of the engine has a sufficient oil supply for whatever the driver requires. Electronic ignition also, this is just being fitted, so we do like the 123 distributors. We found them ultimately reliable over the years, and no issues reported. And if you fit the 123 distributor with the correct type leads, it enhances reliability significantly. Just going down to the back of the engine, again staying with the crankshaft, so I should say going back to the crankshaft, at the back end is a lightened flywheel. The flywheel is one piece with an integral ring gear that's been turned out of a high-grade steel, and is significantly lighter, so the engine will pick up quicker as well. We've put a fast road clutch on there as well. And the rear of the engine has had the crankshaft rear seal modification carried out. We do that whether it be a standard rebuild or a fast road engine. It's part of the standard package that we put in. So moving up to the top end, again timing chains are replaced. As a matter of course, for the camshafts in this engine, we've uprated the camshafts to run the Aston Martin DB2 S cams on the inlet and the exhaust. The lift is increased marginally over the original 2.6 engine, but the lift is probably the same. Well, it is the same as the DB24 Mark III, but they have a longer duration. Essentially, the dwell at peak lift is larger, so that extra few degrees means your inlet valve is open that little bit longer, letting a little bit extra fuel in, and increasing power that way. With the high compression, we say high compression, originally I think these were 8.3 in the DB24 and possibly 7.6 in the DB2, 2.6 litres, around that figure. The nominal compression ratio that we've lifted this particular engine up to is 9.5 to 1, so that'll be perfectly safe wherever the owner takes the car on rallies or races as he sees fit, and the varying levels of fuel quality that you find in different countries around Europe and the rest of the world. In terms of upgrades, I think we've covered quite comprehensively what goes into a fast road engine. This will be running on the original twin SU carburetors. Now, should you feel that extra horsepower is your thing and you want to go racing, the amount of horsepower that is achievable out of the DB2 engine DB2 for is dependent on the budget, first of all, and the level of components that you would like to integrate into the project. So from a full race point of view, we changed the crankshaft. The crankshaft design is done by KBD Dynamics Limited, and that has been at the forefront of the DB2 race engines, which are in DB3S also, for a number of years. And what the design of the crankshaft enables you to do is vastly lift the ceiling of the RPMs to rates which become quite interesting. I've seen over 8,500 RPM, possibly a little bit more on the dyno. And those sort of RPM limits, to get that peak horsepower, you will need a new cylinder block to strengthen that up as well, along with the crankshaft. We use longer connecting rods. The idea of the longer connecting rods, one of the ideas of longer connecting rods is that the dwell time when the piston is at the top of the bore increases because of the arc of the crank and the length of the rods. With that piston being at the top of that bore for that little bit longer, the cylinder pressures increase and push the horsepower up. Aluminium cylinder heads, big valves, and there's also a range of camshaft, also designed by KBD Dynamics Limited, that will everything from fast road, full race, rally, and they're a very smooth camshaft without the lumpiness that you expect from a race camshaft. It's quite phenomenal, really. Just when you're turning the cams by hand, you can feel the smoothness of them, and they really open up the potential for increased power. Now, carburation then really comes into effect. So if you're going to be wanting to push big numbers and reaching upwards of 250 horsepower, 260, 270, pushing towards 280 or more, you really need to be running Weber carburetors, 45s, being the minimum for that amount of air to be consumed. Exhaust then become also very important. So we do a tuned exhaust system which enable the gases going out to be evacuated as quickly as possible. Also improving brake horsepower as well. And with the high-tech components inside with them, they're not fragile, they're very durable, and I've seen engines stripped after a number of races, number of years or season, and main bearings and big end bearings showing very little signs of wear, and some of that is down to the inherent design of the six-cylinder KBD Dynamics crankshaft and the low pressure oil feed system, which feeds the oil in a very specific way to reduce the strain on the bearings within inside the engine. So I think we've covered pretty much comprehensively the range of options, going from a standard comprehensive rebuild through the fast road rebuild, which we have here, and just touch there on what can potentially be available for the full race engines, budget depending. What we always do is we speak with our clients regarding what the car is going to be used for, what the intended purpose is. And the reason we do that is we all love extra horsepower, and we have the ideas of going racing down the roads and things, but what does happen when you start pushing the envelope of brake horsepower, you sacrifice things at the lower end, and you sacrifice low down torque, and you sacrifice low down drivability. So if you're tootling round country lanes or in town or in traffic, they become quite difficult to live with, and it ends up ruining the driving experience. So the fast road engine, as this is, sort of fits not quite between the two, because the race engines are sort of not limitless, but on the opposite end of the spectrum. But the fast road engine gives you that little bit of more of driver engagement and enjoyment, to have the sporty feel and to push the RPM of the engine and feel that sportiness without causing without having any concerns about reliability as well. So fast road engine is a brilliant specification for those wanting to really use and really enjoy their Aston Martin DB2. Thank you for watching. I do hope you enjoyed our short video on the Aston Martin DB2 engine. There's lots more information available on our website, astonenginebuilders.com. Alternatively, you can pick up the phone and give us a call and we can have a chat about any potential projects you may have.